This is rental car number 79, and today I'm driving the 2018 Volkswagen Atlas SE V6. So this is a 5-door mid-size SUV with all-wheel drive. Volkswagen calls it its 4Motion all-wheel drive, and this configuration MSRPs for about $37,000. As far as colors go, this is a blue metallic paint, and the interior is a Titan black leather. And one quick final detail, the car also comes pre-installed with Apple CarPlay and my favorite, Android Auto. Alright, so now that we know exactly what configuration this Atlas is, let's pop the hood and take a look at what's underneath. So as I mentioned before, this is a V6. It's actually a 3.6 liter V6 engine, comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive as I mentioned a little bit before. All that kicks out 276 horsepower, and you get some decent gas mileage, especially when you consider the size of this vehicle. 17 miles per gallon in the city and 23 on the highway, with a nice sized 18.6 gallon fuel tank. So this is a pretty big SUV, but you do get quite a bit of power. Car and Driver says this can go 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds, which ain't bad for a large SUV. They also claim the top speed is 113 miles an hour. I didn't test that. I think I capped out at about 75. The point I'm trying to make here, though, is this is actually fun to drive, especially when you take into consideration how big it is. So don't worry about performance. This V6 is definitely worth the sticker price. So I don't know if you've ever driven a Volkswagen. This is actually my first, and I think my favorite feature about this car is the interior. So let's jump inside so I can show you some of the highlights. So first off, the steering wheel setup is very comfortable. Everything is right where it should be, so it only took me a couple of seconds to figure everything out. You also get a very nice key fob. It's a little light for my taste, but it has everything you need. A nice logo on the back. It's kind of small. I like that kind of detail. And then on the front you get all your standard buttons, lock, unlock, and then the trunk release. And then since you have a key fob, obviously this is a push button start. It's located, down by your waist right next to the gear shift, and it's a small circular button. So here's the steering wheel again. There's a number of buttons I want to kind of show you. Here on the left-hand side you have your cruise controls, and then below it you have a volume rocker. The buttons feel really well constructed. They're very high quality. On the right-hand side, you have a number of other controls to interact with all the screens and entertainment features in the vehicle. And then above the steering wheel, you have a really nice sized gauge cluster, 2 big dials on the left and right, and then a small digital screen right in the center. And I don't know if you can see it, but the trip reset button is located right there below the screen. I don't know, I kind of like this. I think it's designed well, and I've never really seen the button located right there before. So this digital screen is, it's good. It has some color to it, though. It's mostly blues, and there's plenty of features for you to play around with. I'm just cycling through all the menus right now, and I think you can get a taste that there's plenty of details that you can see about the vehicle while you're driving. And to the left of the steering wheel, you get all your standard controls. This is a pretty basic setup that I'm seeing in all my rentals. Window controls, mirror controls is that dial right there. And then the dial up on the dash right here, that's to control your headlights. I have it at auto right now, and I had no problems at all with the headlights. And then the side view mirrors are a good shape and size for an SUV like this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little bit of an icon etched into the glass right there. So this is blind side detection. Essentially what it means is if someone's in your blind spot, this little icon is going to glow yellow. If you throw on your turn signal and someone's in your blind spot, well then it's going to flash at you just to give you a little bit of an extra warning. So shifting your gaze back into the vehicle and up towards the roof, you have all your standard features up here. You have a sunglass holder, 2 lights to illuminate the cabin, some panic buttons, and then a standard rear view mirror. And then below there you have a nice storage cutout right in the dash. I'm seeing these more and more on SUVs, and I gotta say I love it. It's a great place to stash your cell phone, your toll pass, all that stuff that you carry around with you but don't really have a place for. And then below there you get your touchscreen. This is a great size. I love that there are dedicated menu buttons on the left and right side along with knobs to control the station and the volume settings. I guess my only complaint is there's not a whole lot of colors here. It's mostly whites, blacks, and blues, but all in all, the system works great. So I'm not super picky with these screens. What I care about is that I can quickly connect my phone via Bluetooth, which is true of this system, and that there's some fun things to play around with. And that's true also because you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto pre-built into the system. And if you haven't been lucky enough to play around with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, take my word for it, it's great. It's really nice to be able to connect your phone to the car and see all your notifications, play around with all your apps while you're operating the vehicle, hopefully safely. And then below the touchscreen, you get your climate controls. These work fine. There's nice big dials, dedicated buttons for all the important stuff. I guess my only criticism is that there's no pop-ups on that touchscreen to tell you, exactly what temperature you're setting the car at. I mean, that's far from a deal breaker, but I wanted to mention it because I think those extra touches are kind of nice in a car. So below the climate controls, you get kind of a cutout area, and down in there you have all your ports and connectivity. So there's a USB port, an auxiliary jack, and a power port located all the way down there. This is a great little area. I mean, it fit my cell phone perfectly, and there's enough extra space to keep all the cords that you're going to be using kind of in line, right? It looks messy, but at least it's contained in that area. And then behind there, you get your gear shift. Nothing special here. This works fine. There is the sport shift capability here, so you can adjust the gears all by yourself if you're so inclined. And then a little further back, you get your parking brake. It's electronic. That means that you just operate this switch, and the car will electronically engage or disengage the parking brake for you. And then finally in this area, you have the mode selection dial. So essentially on this Volkswagen, you can shift between different settings, whether you're driving up a mountain, dealing with some snow, or if you're on regular, normal road conditions. And after you make that selection, you can press the mode button and further change the vehicle between eco, normal, speed, or you can set a custom setting for how you want the car to operate. I played around with this quite a bit. And maybe I'm just not sensitive enough, but I didn't notice a huge difference between all the different modes. So I'm sure you already noticed this, but in this general area, there's also 2 cup holders for you. And then lastly, let's close out the front seat by quickly talking about storage. There's a little bit of space under the center armrest, along with another USB port down there, perfect for charging some devices. And then you have a glove box with a decent amount of storage in here. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's also a memory card slot, and there's also a CD player input. I'm not sure if this is for the navigation or if you can actually load music CDs in here. I don't play around with CDs much when these rentals, but I did want to point that out to you. Right, so that's the front seat. Let's move into what we're going to call the middle row and talk about kind of the amenities that your passengers are going to enjoy. First off, I think most importantly is legroom. I'm 6 feet tall. When I sit back here, I have plenty of space. I mean, that's a good, almost a foot of space between my knee and the driver's seat right in front of me, which is pushed back a good ways. I'm not pushing that seat all the way forward or anything. There's also a pull-down center armrest with some cup holders in it. I know you're not shocked by this, but I have seen some manufacturers getting rid of these, so I like to mention it when it's available. And then behind the center armrest for the front seat passengers, you do have some controls here to adjust the temperature settings for your passengers in the back. And then all the way at the bottom, there's also a power port and 2 USB ports towards the floor. So those are great features. And another great one is the car seat anchors. They're very shallow. You just push away the fabric right here and you can get easy access to those anchors, making it very simple to install a car seat. And then another great feature for small children back here is that each window has a sunshade, really easy to use. The camera doesn't really do it justice. When they are up, they really do block quite a bit of sunlight. All right, so that's the middle row. There's actually a third row, but before we get to that, I want to show you the trunk space and how those seats are manipulated. I guess I should say adjusted. Manipulated sounds a little harsh. All right, so here's the back with the third row up, right? So someone can sit back there right now, and I think you'll see that you still have plenty of storage space back here. And there's more storage located underneath the floor of this area. So when you lift up the floor, you'll see there's space from additional tools under here. You get your jack, and then that circular square looking piece right there, square, I guess it's a star piece. Anyway, that's the release for the spare tire, which is actually located underneath the vehicle. So collapsing the third row seat is really easy. You just pull up on these plastic pieces on the corners right here, and the seats just fold forward. You don't even have to give them much of a shove. They almost do it all on their own. And then when those seats are folded down, I think you'll see you get quite a bit of room back here. Remember, you still have that middle row seat for 2 or 3 passengers, and now you have tons of storage space back here to haul around all types of stuff. And then if you want to get really crazy, you can fold down those middle seats and have an even more enormous amount of space to haul things around. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could get maybe a full or even a queen size mattress back here. It's hard to really gauge this when you see it in video, but what I want you to know is it's a really big amount of room back here. All right, so let's put all the seats back. First, those third row seats are super easy. Look, you just pull on this little cord right here and the seats fold right back into place for you. Honestly, I'm doing this holding a camera and it's super easy. To get back into the third row, you pull up on this small plastic piece and it reveals a decent amount of room to get back there. I mean, it's not for an older person, but you can make it back here. And then once you sit down in the third row seat, you'll see that you have some legroom. I mentioned this before, but I'm 6 feet tall. I do fit. It's not super comfortable, but I am able to sit back here and probably go for a ride. And what really impressed me about these seats back here is that there's actually some cup holders here, which is nice to see, a little bit of extra storage. And then up above, there's actually dedicated vents for your third row passengers. A really nice touch from Volkswagen. All right, so that's it for the 2018 Volkswagen Atlas SE with a V6 and all-wheel drive. After spending a good 2.5 days in this car and driving it for well over 240 miles, I think the question you should be asking yourself is, would I recommend this car to you? Yes or no? I think the answer is yes. Really enjoyed this car. Hope I get it to rent it again, and honestly, I hope I get a chance to review another Volkswagen because I was pretty impressed with this vehicle. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I rent my 80th rental car. That will be the 2018 Dodge Grand Caravan. I'll see you then.